The is fair the begin of the talks, the is the coordinated stance of the some 27-term state. He's rather a tight, juridical paper, so fact verify has stretched out several of the more than essential sections. The is a bit of a precautionary shooting. The guidance start in few paragraphs resembling us of which spin coordinated so distant, and emphasize how such agreements include to be respectable if future advance is to be done. One sample, the EU believes down there was an insight how the transfer time would support the statute quo, in some speech, all current rules, regulation and institutional arrangement would go on to work. But the UK is now searching several exceptions, and how will aggravate matters. By the government hopes a transactions on the transfer can be finished in March, but down there's no warranty how will occur. Irish boundary alarm, dong ti believe how thou ve heard the recent of it. The tongue utilized in the December treaty was a fiction, and it will be hard to convert in a legislative lyrics. Recall, the UK incorporated how, if all else unsuccessful, it would support complete adjustment in such rules of the solitary marketplace and the Customs Officer Association how struck the boundary. The EU isn't certainly how can be made if the UK insists on outgoing the solitary marketplace and the Customs Officer Association. Down there are different legislative quirks to be found in little territories about the edges of the EU, but the problem in Ireland is of a various scope. Artistic solutions are require. The is an old favorite manufacturing yet else return, but it is cost allocation once again. It is one of the mandrel principles the EU says it will use to both of transition institutional arrangement and the next relation in the UK. So, for the transfer, the EU will urge how liberty of motion of human beings should go on incomplete, as should UK involvement in the solitary marketplace and the Customs Officer Association. Recall, the acquis is the set of laws, treaties and agreements how used to all members. The one is politically hard for the UK by the government, taking into account the scope of strife on its behind benches. The EU says the UK will include to take any new laws gone for the transfer although it will no much longer include any say in manufacturing them. Brexit Registrar David Davis has sharpened out it conducted on 2-year for new law to do its way via the EU framework, so largest new laws will include been developed time the UK was yet a term country. But he as well told it was essential to discover a arrangement for allowing concerns on any new laws the UK did not love. The discovery ploy of the EU suggests down there is really slight sway chamber. The is a fast remind of the formal stance of the some 27-term state, the UK can't in fact carry out new agreements in some countries for which it likes to urge the realization time, except the EU gives a nod of adoption. Spoiler, the EU won't do how for essential things such as aspiring new trading deals. The government points out it will be capable to conduct negotiations and though mark trading deals for the time, but realization will include to expect. It is a controversial spot in any case, since we do not aware if some countries will be readily to complete a trading transactions in the UK up they aware which the next UK-EU trading relation is departure to be. The is the football player to the late, that is giver growth to accusations of Brexiters how the UK will be a feudatory country for transfer. The UK will no much longer act any official part, or include any voice, in any of the EU institutions, although it will be required to pursue all EU laws. The government points out the will use just for a rigorously period limited time, and says it is required to ensure industry in the continuum it seeks. In reality, the EU guidance say the transfer should recent less than rather than 2-year, no for December 31, 2020. But lot industry groups worry about how will not be length quite. Maybe how's one of the reasons why an appendix to these guidance says they will be stored by overview and enhanced as required.